right, thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Today's topics include going through our Christmas hours, updates, PFA Works it has been discontinued as of 12/1, and our tax season, preparation for the upcoming 2024 tax season. Our next webinar will be January 6th, typical 10 a.m. Topics are TBA, but I can tell you we will be going through the Earned Sick Time Act, or ESTA, as that act gets finalized here in December. The agenda for today is holiday hours, updates, the PFA Works time card discontinued, and 2024 tax year preparation. Our holiday hours, as we mentioned in the November webinar, our holiday hours, we will be out of the office on December 24th, 25th, 26th, and 27th. We will have people available on phone on the 26th and the 27th if you have an emergency, but please, if it can wait till the following Monday, try to do that. So don't call us unless it is an absolute emergency. We added in the bank types, we added default parameter titles. So when you create a new bank, we automatically filled in the parameter titles for certain bank types, and we added a new tab for default values in the bank type. And if I go into bank types, for like personal, we now added a parameter for the days. Parameter 1 is going to be days, parameter 2 is going to be like max hours, and then parameter 3 is going to be your max carryover. I believe that is the same for all. It is all banks. You can always overwrite it, but we just added it when you create a new bank, because so that way when you go into employee maintenance, you can easily see the bank hours. And then we add a new tab for default values, and these are overridden if you specify new values in an employee maintenance, but you could specify default values that'll apply to everybody who has this bank. As a lot of you may have already noticed, we updated the import MyWork to have a separate extra rate color, so that way users can see the difference between an error and an extra rate not entered, which is technically, it's not an error. It's just you have to update the information. We updated the online MyWork rejection to only include 2 characters. We also updated the import MyWork with better validation process, so it should work a lot less clunky when trying to validate a time card when you make changes to the time card. We added a copy and paste to AccountMate. So you can now copy an account and paste that account number when creating a new account. And then we also updated fixed assets and fixed asset calculation to our new Windows style. And we also added an uncalculate fixed asset journal. So I'm going to show those off. So this is what our new fixed asset maintenance looks like. It works very similar to the old fixed asset mate. And again, if you guys have any suggestions, please give us a call or send us an email. We are always open to exploring ways to improve our software. A couple of things I want to highlight is we now lock the depreciation type if you have depreciation calculated, because you shouldn't be allowed to change the depreciation type once you have depreciation calculated. But you do have your typical tabs. You have your service tab that has all your service information, your account numbers, your credit and debit account number, your disposal, and then a new tab that is something that we added is a activity where if you they have any activity, yep, it just shows you the different activity for this fixed asset. So again, this works similar to most of our other maintenance models. One thing that I do want to point out is to find the way I find one clearly is I'm looking for a particular code, I will go into the code, I'll click filter, and I'll type in code. So I'm looking for an FA 100. I'll just type that in, click OK, and it'll come up there filtered like that. So that's just a quick pointer I want to point out as a way to find a fixed asset code quickly. you can also click the clear filters button and it'll take you back to the list, but it will still keep you on this fixed asset. And the one thing that I didn't know about that I found out is in our account mate, we have this thing called a lookup code. And that's kind of cool. So I kind of wanted to cover that. If I go back to my fixed assets, 690, and see this is my credit. So if I make this called DEP CRE appreciation credit and I hit save, close that, go back to my fixed assets. I got to close and I reopen fixed assets. I can now go into my account numbers. And it automatically finds that account number. And if I save it and I go back into it, and I go back to the account number and save it. So that is something that I found out to be useful if you're like for your cash account, if you just want to put cash for the in the lookup code, then you can just go into any one of our account areas where you need to enter account control and just type in that it is case sensitive. So just make sure it's case sensitive. You type it in, hit the tab key, and it'll automatically fill it with that account number. So I will go on to our new fixed asset calculation. This one works very similar to our old one. You just click on what fund you want to load. You can load all the fixed assets. You can select them all. You can select the ones you want. Obviously, you can find ones that you need. You can post a single entry or an entry for each month, and you can also skip fixed assets with no in-service date. And then you just go ahead and click calculate fixed assets, and it will go through and calculate your depreciation. So that works very similar to the old fixed assets. Now, something new that we have introduced with changing fixed assets to our new style of window is this uncalculate fixed assets. And what uncalculate fixed assets does is it will uncalculate the most recent fixed asset depreciation for that fixed asset, the journal, the most recent journal. So it's unlike payroll, uncalculate payroll deductions, where you can choose which journal. This one only allows you to uncalculate the most recent fixed asset journal, and that is because we need to make sure that we don't mess up a prior depreciation. You have to work backwards. So you just go ahead and click on calculate, and you can go ahead and click yes, and it was uncalculated. And then again, if you go back in, you see a different journal. Again, in that one, there's not a whole lot of functionality as far as choosing, but it will uncalculate the most recent fixed asset journal. And next is on to the PFA TimeWorks. I don't know how many of you are still using. I don't think anybody is, but as of 12/1, the import legacy time card permissions and view legacy time cards, they are now removed from our software. When I logged into my ProFund this morning, I did not see them, so they are no longer in our software. You can go ahead and run the convert time cards to convert all the imported PFA Works time cards to my work time cards. So I just wanted to highlight that is now discontinued. We already pulled the app from the App Store, so you'll no longer be able to import leftover PFA Works time cards. So yes, it's in Tools. We have a convert time card utility. You go and click on that, and it will go ahead and start converting all the time cards. It just goes through it. It'll show you how many. Obviously, I've already ran this before, so it'll show you how many time cards have been converted. It should not take very long. On average, should take less than a minute. And if you have, and there might be some errors. We've encountered situations where the old time cards equipment code is no longer in the system. So if you get some of those errors, we're more than happy to take a quick look and fix those time cards with the current equipment code. So just so you know, there you may get some errors on old time card data that have old equipment or inventory codes that are no longer in use or have been changed. Tax season To start with, I'm going to go through your tax preparations on your 1099s. Make sure you can log into both the SSA and the 1099 taxpayer portal with your ID.me. So make sure that your ID.me still works. Also, starting tomorrow, the 1099 taxpayer portal will be down as they get ready for the tax year of 2024, and there is no official date when it'll be back up. So um, you're gonna have to wait. We're gonna keep tabs on it when that is ready for the upcoming tax year as they prepare and get ready for the this upcoming tax season. Okay. Also, make sure your applications for all your different portals, your to your 1099 rather, is is still up to date. If there's no changes, you don't have to do anything. So if the two people who are still responsible officials, as they call them, are still working for the road commission, then you should be fine. There shouldn't be anything you have to do. And also, the applications are still available even though the taxpayer portal is down. All right. So then to get prepared for submitting your 1099s, verify that you have the correct 1099 information for your vendors. The IRS provides a TIN matchings that you can submit your vendor's 1099 information, and I'll show it here in a minute, but we have a verify menu item that generates an upload file for the TIN matching, and then we also take in the results file that the IRS gives you to verify that you have the correct information related to that TIN you have on file. Just as a quick side note, the IRS, the taxpayer portal that you use, it's the same portal as last year. They use that same TIN matching when you submit your 1099. So verifying your vendor's 1099 information should cut down on the errors that you have trying to get them approved by the IRS. Accepted, rather, not accepted. Just as a quick note, the NECs are due January 31st, 2025, and the MISCs are due electronically March 31st, 2025, but if you can paper file, they're due at the end of February, I think February 28th, 2025. So, but I imagine most of you, if you have 1099s, you'll have to upload them electronically. So those are due, the MISC ones are due at the end of March. The TIN Verify uses vendors that, if you go into vendor maintenance under the taxes tab, that have one of these checked, either 1099 or MASC. So, and if you're doing a business as, you can check that. I believe it's that one as well. If you have a separate 1099 address, you can check that. But just as a heads up, only vendors that have either MASC or NEC checked will appear in our list on TIN Verify. So if you go into here, you can select what vendors. See, some already have an error. Obviously, the TIN can't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You can select what vendors that you want to verify, and then you can click on the create verification file, and it will save. And you've successfully created your verification file. The IRS will, once you upload it, it'll probably take a day, and it will appear in your IRS mailbox, I believe is what they call it, their SOR mailbox. There you have the results file where you can download, and then you can just load in the results file. Yeah, okay. You could just read, and we will read the results file. We'll print out the code, what vendor, their TIN, and what the IRS says, whether it was valid or there was some issues with it. So please make sure you have all of the vendor 1099 information correct before you submit your 1099s in January. As a side note, we did get information from the IRS that I know a lot of you had problems logging in online last year. It was slow. The service was down. The IRS this year has promised that it should run a whole lot smoother. W-2s and 941s. Both your fourth quarter 941s and W-2s are due January 31st, 2025. So they're both due on the same date, although the 941 is due paper and W-2s are due electronically. Your 941s, you should have all your 941s at least calculated before you calculate your W-2. So make sure you calculate your 941s before your W-2s. Cogitate has been approved for printing the W-2s on plain paper. Again, if you can send in paper copies, we did get approved by the IRS to print the W-2s on plain paper. We do create the electronic file that you need to upload to the SSA. You can log into your SSA account and using business services. You can go online to BSO. It's called Business Services Online, and you can log in. You're going to use your ID.me, and then when you log in, you will have your user ID. You click on your user ID. I'm assuming most of you have done this from last year. You log, and then you can go to their uploading W-2s, and there should be a spot in there for AccuWage where you can upload your file, and it will verify the file before you submit it officially to the government. So if there's any errors, such as a improper social security number or some information that doesn't match, then they'll let you know that you can you can correct whatever you need to correct before you officially submit it to the SSA. I do want to point out that W3 is included in the EF of the upload file. So you do not, there's no separate file. There's nothing special you have to do to submit a W3. Also, the Michigan Treasury Office, or MTO, does accept the EFW2 as well, the upload file. So once after you upload it to the SSA, you can go into the MTO, log in. At the bottom of your screen, there'll be a W2 EFW2 button. I think it says EFW2 file. You just click on that and upload the same file, and that'll submit it to the state of Michigan. SSA does not, unlike the IRS, the SSA does not share information with the states. So, but Michigan is one of the states that does accept that upload file. So there's not much extra work to submit that to the state of Michigan. Also, as a reminder, if I didn't mention it earlier, you can only print on plain paper if you have under 10 employees, if you're under that 10 threshold, but I imagine pretty much all of you are going to be e-filing. And then we have another tool that the SSA provides, which is a verification system. So you can verify an employee or a dependent's SSN if you need to. This is mainly meant for new employees, but you can also check to make sure that all your employees have proper SSNs. It's in payroll under utilities. We have a tool called SSN Verify. So you can look at the names, and then the drop down would have their dependent information. So you can just go ahead and click on employees. And then if you want to include dependents in the SSN file, you can click on that. And just go ahead and create the file. And then you can upload it if you signed up for the service in the B Business Services Online. And then they'll give you a results file. They say it takes about 1 business day. So the next day you can log in, and they should have the results file. You could download it and then click on the load results file. You select the downloaded file, click on open, and it'll read the results file. This is just a tool that you can use to verify employee that their SSN matches their name and date of birth. Move on to the last part of the tax preparation, which is ACA. If you have to file ACA forms, they're the 1094, 1095Cs are due electronically by March 31st, 2025. So for the ACA, it's a little different when getting the access to their system, which they call the AIR system. If you're filing your ACA requirements using the IRS AIR system for the first time, you make sure you complete your AIR application and get your TCC. Again, that's the same way you completed your 1099s. It's the same process. You're going to need two people as responsible officials. So it's pretty much the same process. Now, once you get your TCC, you must pass a communications test to be able to submit your 1094, 1095s. This is where it's a little more tricky is they provide a testing site called the AATS to submit your test files that Cogitate's produced. So I'm gonna go through that process. So I am going to go to online. I type in AIR, spelled backwards. But so if you go on here, they have their UI channel. This is where you're going to want to go if you're going to submit them, but you're going to need to click on here to sign into their what they call AATS area, which is their assurance testing system. You're going to click on that one. I'm not going to do it now because I'll have to log in. But this is where you go. If you need to call, they open at set. Yes, they are. You're going to want to call them early because if you call, I think past 9 o'clock, it might be an hour to 2 hour on hold. So if you have to do that, try to call as early as possible. And so if you have to file ACA, we have a ACA tax reporting. What you do is you go in here to IRS communications test. You type in your TCC number. You can select what file, which form, either one does not matter. So I'm just going to put in a random TCC. It'll create the files. And they will be in my downloads. And then you upload those into, it'll create, actually, let me show you. It'll create a manifest and a regular file. And there'll be a spot that says put the manifest file, put the request file, and then you submit those to the system. And then they'll give you a receipt ID that you need to make sure you copy down, that you write down, so then you can go and check your transmission to see if it was accepted. If it was accepted, then you can go ahead and call the IRS and they'll ask you for your TCC and transmission ID. And then they'll approve you to upload your ACA files to their regular system. So it is a multi-step, and I believe we have help videos on that whole process because the whole process has not changed from last year. So we do have help videos that will go through that you can look at. That'll step you in more detail through that process. This is just kind of an overview. Now, if you filed your ACA forms last year using the AIR system, as of now, you do not have to pass a communications test. The IRS has said that once you pass it once, you do not have to pass it again. That this is always subject to change, but their latest communications that I've seen is that is still true. So if you filed last year using the AIR system, you do not have to pass that communications test. You should be good to go. If you want to verify you don't have to pass it, you can log into your application and see if it already says in production, then you do not have to pass it again. And then also I just showed it, but you can use the ACA tax report menu item to verify all the information is correct for each employee. Yeah, if I go to ACA, you can verify. You click on a person and verify that all their ACA information is correct. So again, this webinar is supposed to be preparation and not exact how to e-file. So
you are now working smarter with ProFund Accounting. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more content like this.